Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the people of the Edinburgh North, I once again rise in this honorable chamber to make a contribution on a motion before the House. But before speaking directly to the motion, like you this morning, Mr. Speaker, I rather suspect that this will be the last sitting for the year, and so I want to profit the opportunity to express holiday wishes to some of the people I've worked with in discharging my responsibilities to my country, and more specifically, my constituency. And I want to start with you, Mr. Speaker, and your staff in the Parliament for the wonderful job that you all have done in keeping the Parliament alive and for facilitating a period of free speech and things of that sort. I want to express holiday wishes to the Leader of the Opposition and my colleagues on this side of the House, as well as colleagues on the other side of the House, Mr. Speaker. The frontline workers who work so diligently for our country in the last 12 months, they too, Mr. Speaker, must be mentioned. Permit me also, Mr. Speaker, to reach out to Alina and Janjo, whose son, Wesley, from my constituency, fell off a bicycle a few days ago, and he suffered some serious injury. He has undergone surgery at the Owen King EU Hospital, and I just want to let the family know that my thoughts and prayers are with them, and I wish young Wesley a speedy recovery. Mr. Speaker, if one were to tune into the national television network, the NTN, to listen to the debate on the motion that is before us, and for some reason they happen to join late, Mr. Speaker, only to hear the contributions of the members on the other side, one would have easily concluded that the members of the opposition are wicked and they do not mean well for the citizens of this country, in particular the children of St. Lucia. But, Mr. Speaker, nothing is further from the truth. And what we saw in response to the presentation made by the Leader of the Opposition and member for Castries East, and also the member for Castries South, were expressions, Mr. Speaker, that had in them genuine concerns and genuine questions. At no point in time did the two gentlemen give the impression, Mr. Speaker, that they were against the motion that is before the House, and by extension, against relief for people in St. Lucia who may not be in a position to provide for themselves during the holiday season. Mr. Speaker, I saw a deliberate distortion of the members' presentations. And the member for Castries Southeast, in his preamble, he said that he anticipated a peaceful exchange, a cordial discourse, a frank conversation. And that is what he expected when he came here, given the nature of the resolution or the motion before the House. But by asking a simple question, Mr. Speaker, that if government is taking a resolution to the Parliament on the 15th of December, a mere 10 days before Christmas, and say to the opposition, here we are providing you with an avenue to import toys and other items that would bring relief to the people just 10 days before Christmas, Mr. Speaker, we are saying that we believe this is unfair and better could have been done. But by asking this question and expressing this simple concern, instead, he said we had taken the Parliament or the debate to a new low. The member for Soufrière said it was cheap politics. And the member for Castries Central, Mr. Speaker, she was busy trying to find out who are the persons in her constituency 4.5 years after having been elected who were indigent and probably in need. Mr. Speaker, I would not stand here and oppose any kind of relief package, whether it is in the form of a resolution or tangible items. I will not oppose any such initiative once I genuinely believe It is going to redound to the benefit of St. Lucians, in particular those, Mr. Speaker, in these difficult times who might not be able to provide for themselves. But we are saying, Mr. Speaker, if the focus of the resolution is to allow parliamentarians, and note the term parliamentarians, elected parliamentarians, on both sides, to be in a position to order stuff from overseas, to be able to distribute them to constituents. Mr. Speaker, a mere 10 days before Christmas cannot be sufficient time. And I think the honorable and the right thing for somebody to have done on the other side was to say, yes, we agree with you, but better late than never, and let us see what we can do. But instead, we saw the debate being taken in all kinds of directions that were just not necessary and called for. Mr. Speaker, bon matin, nous commençons à discuter un proposal gouvernement mené devant le Parlement. Co-gouvernement j'apprend une décision en cabinet that yo kay bay membre parlement qui t'a été électé pouvoir pour mener acheter bay l'autre pays et puis mener tout un pays pour bay moun constituency yo. Et qui pas kay ni pour payer VAT. Et qui aussi dit et moi d'accord et puis that en temps Noël et ça nous a créé holiday season. Là ni un chay moun qui dépend en les parlementaires et puis pour bay yo anti les mains pour faire Noël là yo ça enjoy. Et nous pas contre sa pièce. Parce que qui nous en opposition, ou nous en gouvernement, nous tous ni pressure comme gens constituency nous qui venir demander nous bagaille et que nous pas même ni. So si le gouvernement a mis des marches en place pour ben nous un petit soulagement qu'on nous a acheté par l'autre pays, nous pas contre ça ou ça. Ça nous a dit c'est ou pas ça venir 10 jours avant Noël et qu'a dit nous 6 qui en opposition nous supposons acheter par l'autre pays. Order se bay ça, jeune yo package, jeune yo ship, et puis clé yo en les là 10 jours avant Noël pour nous sabay moun en constituency nous. And that for me, Mr. Speaker, is the crux of the position of the collective opposition here today. So when you hear that we do not mean well, and we don't have the best interest of the children of St. Lucia at heart, Mr. Speaker, that is a misrepresentation of our position. Mr. Speaker, why would I leave Denry North and cross the Bad Lil and oppose government putting measures in place to help poor people at a time when not a single box of bananas can be exported to the UK? You think I don't feel the pressure in much the same way that my constituents feel it, Mr. Speaker? They come to my office, they meet me at the funerals, they meet me at the bakery, and they expect you to find a mechanism that is workable to bring relief. So of course, but all I'm saying is that you were privy to the information, and in much the same way, Mr. Speaker, that the government can find the opposition, whether it is to collaborate as a joint committee of the Parliament or for other initiatives. I am saying that the members of the cabinet would have known beforehand that this particular initiative was forthcoming, and they should have informed us so as to put us on the same plane with them as elected parliamentarians. But to give the impression that we're not for the children of St. Lucia is wrong. And it is mischievous, Mr. Speaker. Some children in my constituency today, they cannot get a report at the end of the term because they do not have laptop computers. And you think if measures have been put in place to help those families, Mr. Speaker, we are going to stand in the way of that? Bus drivers are under pressure. Almost every sector of this country as we speak is under pressure. And very importantly, Mr. Speaker, as I said, those persons who cannot make ends meet and their families who would have been able to look after themselves in a very comfortable way under normal circumstances. But how many times must we come here and tell the people of St. Lucia that COVID created a different scenario? We have all agreed to that. But the argument must be consistent. And I am sure as we speak, and as the resolution is being tabled today, Mr. Speaker, the members on the other side have a distinct advantage. And not simply because they are ministers, they would have been privy to information regarding that particular arrangement. So no attempt by anybody on the other side to suggest that you got the other paper on the same day that we did puts you on an equal plane That is wrong, and you know differently. And I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, whereas the initiative is a good one, we should have been informed prior that this was in place so that, like our colleagues on the other side, we would have been in a position to take advantage of it. Mr. Speaker, we have seen the pressures of the Christmas season on elected parliamentarians, and more so for those of us on this side. I am yet to see the commencement of STEP, which would have been an avenue for relief for very, very ordinary people. Et ne pas qui manie yo café. Mais 10 jours pour aller avant Noël, nous pouvons voir pièce gamme STEP à ces constituencies, nous, Mr. Speaker. Et vous croyez c'est un bail nous comptons? Et nous pouvons faire pièce des autres contre ça. Mais ça nous savent, là, les gens qui savent qui manie yo acheter un livre pour Noël. And that is the reality. And when I come here and I give expression to such concerns as espoused by my constituents, I have no difficulty, Mr. Speaker, when people ascribe labels like playing chip politics. And if by saying this and registering that as a concern on behalf of the people of Oleon and Grand Ravine and Gadet and Denier Rivière, Belmont, Richmond, Lapel, Mr. Speaker, Grand Ravine, if by giving expression to those concerns, I am taking the parliament to a new low, then, Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to do so, because my primary responsibility, as I've said before, is to give expression to the concerns of the people in whose name I take my rightful place in this parliament. And then you hear about creating a new St. Lucia. In the creation of that new St. Lucia means, and I've said it before and I'm going to say it again, there must be contending ideas. So when you come with a resolution, and I'm saying to you that 10 days before Christmas, that cannot work for us in opposition. Are we doing a disservice to the country? By saying so, Mr. Speaker, are we not for the children of St. Lucia? Does that make us wicked? Là, nous venons avec nous, le gouvernement mettre des démarches en place pour même Parlement acheter par l'autre pays et que nous savons information 10 jours avant Noël. Qu'on nous pour rien, à côté de l'Amérique, Miami, et bien l'Angleterre pour acheter par là. On est pour payer pour lui. On est pour ship lui, mais à son avion et bateau pour y verser ici. Là, il va ici, on est pour clear customs. Et après faire ça, Mr. Speaker, après faire ça, on est pour une manière pour distribuer ça par ces gens. Et nous avons dit, en saison Noël, ça n'a pas assez de temps. Et c'est pour ça, aujourd'hui, nous avons dit, ça nous vient ici pour dire. Ce n'est pas plus nous contre l'initiative là pour bailler les gens anti-soulagement. We are not against it. We are not against the children of St. Lucia. But Mr. Speaker, as I said before, and I'm going to say again, I believe that we should have been given enough time to make use of that particular facility. And by making a concession on the other end that you agree that the time is not sufficient, that does not make you weak and it doesn't strengthen us. But what it will do, Mr. Speaker, is to create a platform for a very frank and objective conversation on behalf of people who ordinarily would not be in a position to provide for themselves. This is my contribution to the debate on this motion, Mr. Speaker.